Hello and welcome back to Underlab. This may be a slight departure from the game I'm normally talking about, but I'm a fan of DC and I thought this was a pretty interesting point to make. In Injustice 2, we see the darker side to Superman, a character who is typically supposed to be the go-to model for justice and the right thing to do. It's not unusual to hear characters in the DC universe ask themselves what would Superman do in their situation. Well, hopefully they don't emulate what he did in Injustice, which was to set up an authoritarian regime in order to police the world for any and all crime. This naturally ended up dividing the former members of the Justice League, as no killing has long been a policy of theirs, particularly for Batman. Now it's hard to argue that Batman isn't right in opposing what Superman has become, but we have to remember the underlying principle that sparked it all off. Batman is so opposed to killing of any kind that he'd rather disable his own allies should they choose to attempt to take a life. Now before this turns into a debate over the death penalty in real life, I want to stress that that isn't really what this is about in the world of DC. You can easily make arguments as to why the vast majority of real human beings should be allowed to live. However, in DC, there exist characters unlike anyone who's ever existed. Let's take the main villain of Injustice 2 for example, namely Brainiac. Brainiac poses a threat to the world that no human being ever could. He's obsessed with collecting knowledge and he only values it when it's rare. Therefore, he collects the cities of planets, transforming them into data for his ship before destroying the rest of the world in order to ensure the knowledge he's collected is his alone. This genocidal psychopath then comes to Earth with the intention of doing the same thing he's been up to across the rest of the universe. Now, is there really anyone who can logically defend keeping Brainiac alive? Imprisoning him would likely be impossible, considering his advanced alien technology. And why keep someone alive who not only views you as utterly insignificant, but also has the means to eradicate you as if you were an insect? Brainiac is clearly a threat to all of humanity and then some, and keeping him alive is like casually letting a feral wolf into your home. Now, I realise that Batman's logic for preventing Superman from killing the alien-computer hybrid is that Brainiac's knowledge of his own ship may be required in order to restore the cities he has contained on board. However, the line, even if I agreed that he should die, clearly implies that Batman is still obstinate about his no-killing policy. While it's certainly noble of Bruce to resist killing the source of so much evil, is it really the wise and even the right thing to do? As I mentioned, it seems unlikely that Brainiac could be imprisoned. After getting him to restore the cities, it still seems fair that an execution sentence should fall upon him for literally destroying multiple planets and committing genocide on who knows how many alien races. If there's even the slightest chance that someone like that could escape to wreak havoc again, it really does seem that Superman's solution of killing the tyrant is the only one that will work. However, the idea of Brainiac escaping from his prison isn't a problem relating to him alone. How many times has Batman's rogues gallery escaped from Arkham Asylum? As far as we're able to tell, every time Batman captures one of his arch-nemeses, they break out again a few months later and kill more innocents and cause more destruction. If they're really so dangerous and powerful that no prison can restrain them, then clearly some sort of alternative is required. And is it really worth putting the lives of millions of good and innocent people at risk just to feel good about not killing someone as deranged and deadly as the Joker? There's been plenty of stories where Batman ends up killing the Clown Prince of Crime at the end, as in those, Batman is forced to confront the reality that the Joker is far too dangerous to be allowed to live. That alone forces me to question whether the Batman we see in Injustice has the right idea, as apparently he's even disagrees with himself as to whether keeping someone like the Joker alive is a risk he can afford to take. The other argument against killing, particularly for superheroes, is the slippery slope it seems to lead down every time it happens. Apparently killing one bad guy leads you down an irredeemable path where you'll inevitably become corrupted with power. I'm not arguing that Superman isn't a pretty evil guy in Injustice. Killing other heroes, pushing others about and acting as the moral arbiter for the entire planet clearly isn't the way anyone should go. But I still feel that there's undeniable logic in knocking off certain enemies that no hero can put away for good. It's clear that there's villains in the DC universe far more powerful than the vast majority of heroes. And if they come to Earth with genocidal intent, I really don't think some metal bars under guards with a stun baton is going to do the trick. We even see the high-tech prison Batman built for Superman in Injustice 2 getting broken into. If Batman hadn't arrived personally to release Superman, Cyborg would have hacked into the prison's lockdown system before freeing him. If Bruce Wayne and Luthor can't afford impenetrable security, then I can't imagine that anyone on Earth can. Ironically, it seems that killing Superman may be the best way to deal with him. During the absolute justice ending of Injustice 2, we see Batman banish Superman to the Phantom Zone. However, he promises he'll be back, and Batman even acknowledges that.
Even without my powers, the Phantom Zone can't hold me. I'll be back. We'll be ready.
So is Superman going to just keep coming back and causing havoc because Batman refuses to get rid of him for good? It really does seem like some characters have too many connections or too much power of their own within the DC universe to be kept in one place for long, and every time they come back, more civilians get hurt. This really doesn't seem like a viable way of protecting Earth. There's even this great line from Damian Wayne, which is pretty surprising considering it came from Damian Wayne of all people.
So you won't kill, but you're fine with traumatic brain injuries.
So, does he have a point? I find it hard to argue that he doesn't. Batman has surely crippled more than one thug for life, and some of the injuries he gives his villains may in some ways be worse than death itself. It seems a little hypocritical then, when he condemns others for killing the unstoppable arch-villains who plague the DC universe. So in conclusion, I'd say both Superman and Batman are wrong. Superman takes things way too far in one direction, enslaving the world under his heel in order to maintain his vision. However, I feel it's fair to say that Batman is too idealistic. It's true, if he'd gotten rid of the worst of his villains, all the trouble they cause in the future when they break out of Arkham wouldn't have happened. I'm not sure I really agree with the logic that killing one super bad guy results in you losing control. I also can't imagine the millions of dead aliens you'd avenge by killing Brainiac would complain if you were to put the Collector to rest. So while Batman does seem to be the only one of the two with his sense of justice intact, his own policy is only going to result in the Earth being attacked again and again until someone else snaps again. If only there was a way of mind controlling the bad guys. Oh, wait a second. That's what Superman does in the Absolute Power ending. Except he's taken control of Batman's mind and not one of the villains. Maybe then if the two just work together once more, they could use this extreme method on the evildoers whom they know will just escape prison the moment they're put behind bars. Obviously it's not very humane, but hey, it doesn't violate the no killing policy, right? Superman has a few good ideas, it's just a shame he's such a jerk and injustice. Maybe Dr. Fate has a point. It seems without order, the DC universe is going to remain eternally in conflict. Well, there we go. My first theory on a different game. Don't worry, I'll have more of the content you all know and love uploaded a few days from now. Still, be sure to tell me if you enjoyed this, and whether theories about different games, and maybe even different mediums entirely, appeal to you. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, try not to get punched into oblivion by Superman, and I'll see you next time. Before I go, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to my patrons. My head scientist Nightcore Master, Cameron Vigil, Kay Jensen, Asgrin Shi, Sophronius, Zoera, and Super Radiations. And my Underlab scientists Crystal Sleet, Nicholas Dux, Armin Arler, Marisa Ray, Corey Kidwell, Lieutenant Omega, Yushio Crony, and Mimi Peach. Thanks to the generosity of every name you see here, this channel is able to keep going. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out the Patreon link below, as well as the video that explains why I'd so massively appreciate your contribution.